Okay, now we get to verse 3. Look at the next thing that happens. This is fascinating. And I will give power to my 2 witnesses. Whoa. Right in the middle of the ascendancy of the Antichrist and the building of this temple for Israel to finally have their temple they've always wanted since the Herod temple. The 2 witnesses arrive. And this is the 2 witnesses that are testifying to Israel their need of a Messiah. Just because Israel has a temple in Jerusalem does not mean they believe in Jesus. They believe in the temple. And they want to go back to their Jewish traditions. So for 42 months, these 2 witnesses are calling Israel back to their Messiah, or 1,260 days, which is 3.5 years. And then the Antichrist slays them. What is the production of their ministry? Well, verse 4, the 2 witnesses, look what happens. They're the 2 olive trees, the 2 lampstands before the God of the earth. What is that talking about? It's the Old Testament. That's Zechariah 3 and 4. God had a revival among those who returned from the captivity, and they got all excited about worshiping the Lord. Remember Ezra? All those things that you read about in the Old Testament, Ezra and the revival, and the people got right with God, and they rebuilt the temple. Zechariah describes that as the 2 olive trees and lampstands in Zechariah 3 and 4, which look at Revelation 11:4. There's one of those 800 allusions to the Old Testament. These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 lampstands standing before the God of the earth. That is exactly from Zechariah, which explains to us what God's doing here. And so what it is it's a Messianic Jewish revival, and God is at work. Let's just talk about the 2 witnesses. They're such fascinating topic. Basically, the 2 witnesses serve for 42 months. They're empowered for 1,260 days. Those are numbers out of Revelation 11. They can call down fire from heaven. They can shut heaven so there's no rain, which is just like what Elijah did. They can turn water into blood and smite the earth with plagues, just like what Moses did. So that's why people say the 2 witnesses could be Elijah and Moses. Yeah, but the Bible doesn't tell us. Others say one of them is Enoch, because they say 2 humans never died. They were translated, Enoch and Elijah. So they need to come back and die. Great, there are lots of theories. But God says it's not important enough to tell us. And so we just say, it could be. Then the beast and there's the Greek word, abuso, kills them. And we've already talked about that with the significance that all the earth dwellers celebrate, and then they're resurrected after 3.5 days. So the 2 witnesses serve. We're not sure of their identity. I've already told you about the clues about Moses and Elijah. But now, look at verse 7, because here comes, when they finish their testimony, Revelation 11:7, the beast that ascends out of the bottomless pit will make war against them and overcome them and kill them. Here is the worst human ever to live. There have been a lot of bad eggs, a lot of bad characters in history. Murderers, Genghis Khan, the Scythians that did atrocities, Hitler with his atrocities, Stalin, who killed 20 million people, Mao Zedong, who killed more than that in all their purges. This is the worst. Antichrist is the incarnation of Satan, described 36 times in Revelation. Here in Revelation 11, he's the beast ascending from the bottomless pit. In chapter 13, we're headed toward. He's called the Antichrist. And the whole world watches the horrors of the tribulation. They're watching, look at verse 8, it says, and their dead bodies will lie in the streets of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. So that means it's Jerusalem. And those from the peoples and tribes and tongues and nations see their dead bodies. So that's the global, we've talked about the digital media that people are watching this. Earth dwellers rejoice. Now, wow, there's a word that's important. God describes all the people that are floating in their canoe toward destruction down the broad, river headed over the precipice into the dark that Luke talks about, that Jesus came to light all those that were blind, headed toward destruction and the pit. That broad river of people in Revelation is always called earth dwellers. That's why we have that little chorus, "This world is not my home, I'm just a passing through." That's why the book of Hebrews describes the heroes of the faith as pilgrims and strangers looking for a heavenly city. God says there's only two orientations: the people who live for earth, and this is everything important to them, and they live for the earth. They're earth dwellers. This is important. And look, I gave you the references. Revelation 3:10, Revelation 6:10, Revelation 8:13, twice in 11:10, 13:8, 13:12, 13:14, two times in 14, chapter 14, verse 6, chapter 17, verse 8. 11 times God describes the lost people as earth dwellers. And he tells us, don't live like earth dwellers. Don't live for what they live for.